We got a quick poll question at 973 ESPN. Who is the most unlikable sports figure in Philadelphia currently? Howie Roseman or the field? I can't think of anyone that's even close, and I'm not saying it's fair or unfair. You have a thought?
I think you nailed it. It's got to be Howie. Even if you're upset with this Eagles team and you're upset with Doug, there's no way that can overpower the feelings towards Howie. Like, there's just no way that someone is on that level.
Peter?
Oh, I picked the field. John Middleton, man. What the hell's going on over the weekend?
Wow.
I mentioned
Zach Wheeler, and then trying to act like I wouldn't trade him for Babe Ruth. Well, yeah, you wouldn't. Babe Ruth is dead. I mean, come on, dude.
I don't think he meant right now at this very moment. I think he just meant in terms of the production of Babe, which would be a horrendous idea to not trade him for Babe Ruth, may I add. Did he think that through?
It's just, from the potted plant to the what am I, a potted plant, to the optics of John Middleton right now has me angrier than anything that Howie has done in this last 24 hours.
Well, all right. So do we think that Howie had a hand in the decision to start Jalen Hurts on Sunday? For those of you just tuning in and have been under a rock all day, Doug Pederson announced today that Carson Wentz is going to the bench, Peter.
Yeah, do I think Howie had a hand in that? Well, not according to Doug. Doug's whole thing was like, look, I'm going to make this decision. This is going to be on me. And listen, it is kind of interesting, too. Like, we thought we would get this official story on Wednesday, tomorrow, when Doug speaks for the next time. But no, what do they decide to do? Let's put it out as a statement. Let's give everybody – it's almost like the petulant child. Let's put it out as a statement. We'll give all the sports radio and all the folks out there and all the columnists their chance to take their shot. And then by the time that I speak again officially on Wednesday, maybe they'll be all cried out. I mean, I don't think so.
No. Well, I said yesterday, I don't know, I think Josh can vouch for me. I said that they would announce it today because he said it on Monday that he wanted to make the decision before they got to practice on Wednesday, and I think they wanted to do it like this so that he didn't have to get a firing squad of questions. Now, he's going to get the firing squad anyway, but at least now it's already out there that he's not going to have to break it tomorrow under, Jeff McClain giving him the business.
Right, yeah, he loves McClain and some of the other guys that give him the business. Listen, it is kind of interesting, though. Forgive me, but do you have to announce a starting quarterback? I mean, isn't it a competitive advantage, or is it a disservice to your team if you don't announce who you're going to go with? Why the rush?
It does seem odd because just based off of the track record, Doug is normally the one that wants to hold it back so other teams have to question what they're going to do. So just based off of what they normally do, I was a little stunned as well.
Yeah, I was a little surprised, and I heard you had the professor on earlier. John Clayton's the best, man. I got to tell you, one time I gave him directions on how to get out of the Link parking lot, and I was all excited. I talked to John Clayton. But, I heard him talk about the fact, and this is key, that Doug Pederson said, well, if we bring in Wentz, that signals that, the season's over. Yeah, well, ding, 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 season's over, I guess. Okay, come on in, Jalen. Let's see what you can do.
All right, so let me ask you then, Pete Thompson. Is this the right move to go to Jalen Hurts?
It gives him the best chance to win. Listen, they can't do any worse. Are they going to further damage Wentz's psyche? No. The guy's already completely broken. There's no doubt. Look, neither quarterback was Pro Bowl level against the Packers, but Hurts was the better of the two quarterbacks, and he lit a spark, I thought. Give him the entire week. Let him, obviously, now we know from Wednesday on to prepare for the Saints, prepare as the starter, know that he's going to be the starter, and see what kind of package they can whip up for him and how he can do knowing that he's going to go in and be the number one guy.
I'm torn answering that question because you asked me, is it the right move? Well, short term, absolutely. Absolutely for this season, it's the right move. But based off of what you did earlier when you went out and paid Carson Wentz before you needed to, long term, I think it's not the right move. So I'm conflicted on how to feel. But for this season specifically, I think he does deserve it.
Yeah, and Wentz didn't do anything in the first half to endear himself to staying in there. His numbers weren't good. 6 for 15 for 79 yards. Give me a break. That's pathetic. The sacks were the big killer for me. Although Hurts eventually was sacked 3 times himself too, but Wentz was the same old Wentz again. Look, at least Hurts took some vertical shots down the field and was able to connect on that fourth down touchdown to Greg Ward. At least he was able to get something done. I mean, to me, it is the season's done. They're going to play out the string. I know that the NFC East is a numbers game and everybody's terrible, but now that the Giants were able to do what they did and the Washington football team, I mean, this is crazy that we're going to have a football game tonight and watch the Cowgirls probably get blown out by Baltimore is my prediction. But I mean, it's Tuesday with Thompson. We're still talking about NFL games because of the way COVID's gone. So, I mean, it's crazy the way the schedule sets up. It's also crazy to think that the Eagles are doing a disservice by giving Hurts a chance right now. To me, they can't do any worse. Throw the guy in, and if anything, it comes a week or two too late.
Tuesday with Thompson, the PT's here. And obviously, here's the problem now, Peter. You got so much money tied into Carson Wentz. Is he just your backup? I mean, you heard what John Clayton said. Yeah, you might be able to trade him for like a fifth-round pick, but you're going to have to eat. I mean, they are in, and Rob Motti said this during Football at 4 today, this is a position that they put themselves in and they didn't need to be here.
Yeah, I mean, and that all goes back to, I think I heard some stuff about, too, Howie, this is all Howie's reasoning, that everybody in the room wanted to go for Justin Jefferson, but Howie pulled executive privilege and ended up taking Hurts on his own or picking Jalen Reagor on his own. Is Howie operating as this rogue lone wolf? And, I mean, all these questions need to be answered, and they're not going to get answered until the guy with the silver hair that walks around and keeps meddling, the owner, actually talks to us. And we haven't heard anything from him, and we won't hear anything from him until the season's long done. Who's going to take the fall for this season? Is somebody going to take the fall for this season? I've seen people that are still trying to argue. Actually, it's a former Eagles signal caller trying to advocate for another former Eagles backup, Ron Jaworski, has gone on record and saying, no, Doug Pederson deserves a pass for this season. I don't know about that, but somebody's going to get fired.
That's interesting because with Doug Pederson, it's hard for me. I think that he has done a poor job this season, but I've looked through the history of some of these teams with New Orleans, for example. They were going to fire Sean Payton a couple years ago for going 7-9 a couple of times, and now look at them. They found their groove again, and they rebuilt that thing. And you look at John Harbaugh, what happened down there in Baltimore. They had a rough stretch of not making the postseason for a little bit after winning the Super Bowl, and they found their groove again. So while I have been someone who has been very, very hard on Doug, I just don't know if one season of failure, even though it's been so ugly, if it's reasonable to just can the guy without more of a sample size.
Well, and one of the things in there, bros, that was part of Jaws' analysis was that, listen, this isn't like a normal season with COVID, and the ability not, the way the meetings are, there was no training camp, this, that, the other thing. And, of course, my initial response would be, hey, Jaws, this was supposed to be the strength for them, that they had all the coaching staff coming back, that they had a veteran quarterback. Don't play that card now that they're awful and say that, wait a second, it's a COVID year and you got to give them a pass. No, if anything, that was why they were supposed to be good, and they've failed even more spectacularly than anybody could have imagined.
Do you think it's possible that Doug Pederson is feeling the hot seat, though, and he felt the pressure to move to Jalen Hurts because if he's coaching for his job, he needs to make sure he has the best possible player out there?
Yeah, I hear that narrative where people are saying that he's coaching for his job, but I also hear and I think I feel like some credibility to the other narrative, which is that, he'd be happy to get out of there. And I've heard Gil say that before, too, and I'm starting to believe that to be the truth. And I think that Doug Pederson feels like, I've won a Super Bowl, my resume is out there as a play caller, and my resume is an offensive-minded coach, and what I can do with the team, and his ability to, look, you had Matt Patricia get bounced in Detroit, right? You've got coaches out there that lose control of their teams quickly. Whether you agree with his ability to call plays and his success in wins and losses, the one thing you can't take away from Doug is he never has lost a locker room. And I would argue that he hasn't even lost this locker room. Maybe by naming Jalen Hurts today as the starter, that rallies some guys, and they get one of these patented Doug late rallies where the records, sure, they're not going to be outstanding, but maybe if they win a game or two down the stretch, Washington and Dallas is the ones that I'm looking at. But if they win those games, maybe people take a little bit of the sting out of it and think, well, at least they didn't bail on Doug and sell out on Doug. I think that's one of his strengths. And you could argue, somebody came up to me today after school and said, do you think Doug wants to get fired? Do you think he's worried about getting fired? And I don't know if he's worried. I think he's already maybe thinking, if I get fired, this is the next place I would go.
Yeah, that's the big thing is how much is Doug's heart into this job anymore? I mean, there's going to be a lot of job openings. John Clayton brought up earlier, hey, San Diego sounds great. You got Justin Herbert out there, and, you have a situation where you can work with a young new quarterback where, here, I wonder if he's already made up his mind on whether or not this quarterback. Now, he's saying all the right things. Hey, we still believe in Carson. He can come back. We think he can get there. But, I mean, if you're Doug Pederson, you won a Super Bowl here. I don't think that he would be all that hurt by being fired if it came down to that.
Right. And you almost feel like the season has gone so poorly that somebody's going to – it's like the scene at the end of the first National Treasure, right? Like somebody's got to go to jail, Ben, right? Somebody's got to get fired, right? Like you can't, to your fan base, just let everything remain status quo. And you can't run a Phillies move where you say, all right, well, we're going to take away the talent evaluation. Howie, we're going to just make you the capologist. You're the cap guy only. All the people, by the way, that love to talk about how great Howie is with the cap, part of the reason that they're in this problem is because of Howie. I mean, people don't even understand that this 4-year, $128 million deal hasn't even really started. It doesn't start until 2021. This guy's not only bad, right. He's bad, and the clock hasn't started yet. You got to be kidding me.
Well, this is almost like the Ryan Howard contract when they gave him that extension and they didn't have to, and it didn't start until after the Achilles injury. I mean, at least Wentz isn't hurt, and maybe you can – but I just don't see how – what is he, just sit around here as a $158 million backup quarterback? I don't see how this ends well in any scenario. And then you have a situation where what if Hurts can't play?
Right, and that's entirely possible if Hurts can't play. I mean, then what are you doing? Are you looking for a retread or somebody that's out there that at least can quarterback your football team in the direction that you're? It's obviously not a long-term situation. And listen, the number of people out there that don't understand the cap, it's pretty simple as this. Like, if you cut the guy at the start of the league year, it would be $59 million in dead money, and it would cost him another $25 million in additional cap space. I mean, they're already way over the cap to begin with, but you can't just jettison the guy. I mean, I think we all agree about that. The only situation that you're going to get out of this is if you can convince somebody else out there to try and, pick up him in a trade, and you're not going to get back full value for him, and you're going to end up still getting hurt anyway on that. But if you can convince somebody else out there that Wentz is the solution to their problems, I mean, that is the ultimate sales job. And I'm not ready to move on from him either. Maybe now that they're finally holding him accountable, maybe what they were saying lip service that they're actually doing will work. Maybe sitting Wentz down will actually have the effect on him that everybody hoped, and he'll actually see what his mistakes are and be able to recharge. Who knows? That's the optimist PT talking.
Yeah, but that's why I'm not shocked or stunned, but I'm mildly surprised that they didn't go back to Wentz here and do that exact thing. Like, hey, we sat him. He sat on and watched for 2 quarters. And, we're going to go back to him and see if he learned anything from it. And if he doesn't, then we can really justify benching him. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's why I'm pretty surprised that they just all out benched his ass.
Yeah, I saw all the scenarios too with you, MG. I thought for sure that there was a possibility that it would be just as justifiable or just as reasonable for you to expect Doug to come out and say, "Listen, our quarterback is not playing well, but he is our franchise quarterback. He gives us the chance to win, and therefore he's going to start the game. If he struggles, though, Jalen Hurts." No, they flat out said, Jalen Hurts gives us the best chance to win. And you know what? That only sort of validates what everybody's been talking about and what everybody's seen all season long. And I heard you, your volume went way up yesterday, Mike, when I was listening on the way home. You talking about the problem is the guy you gave the long-term deal to and your franchise quarterback and where you build the team around, he's your biggest reason that you're losing football games. And that's no doubt. I mean, Wentz has been, and that's why they ultimately had to make this move. When your signal caller can't even keep you in games. Yeah, they marched down and got an opening field goal, so they actually had the lead for once, which was a shocker. But, Wentz is not getting it done. I'm not saying that Jalen Hurts is going to be some world beater, but he at least provided enough of a spark that he earned the chance to me to be able to come in and see how he can do as the starter to begin the football game.
I definitely think it's reasonable to give him an opportunity to kind of go out there and play. But I just wonder if it does get ugly, and keep in mind they're going up against the Saints team that can probably abuse this offensive line with ease. Do you then throw Carson Wentz back in and it's like, all right, buddy, your turn again? Like, do they start flip-flopping because they're both not being able to get the job done?
I would ask both you guys, how do you either one of you see Carson Wentz starting another game for this franchise?
Again? Ever?
Yeah.
Yes, I do.
Oh yeah, I do. I'm with Broads on that. I absolutely see him starting another game for this franchise. I don't know that I don't know if he's. I mean, it depends on how Hurts plays in this next game, but or God forbid Hurts gets hurt. There you go. That sentence rolls off your tongue easily. But yeah, I mean, I absolutely could see.
Okay,
Carson
save
Wentz
injury.
All right, so yes, so save injury. If Hurts is healthy, but he goes out there and he throws 2 picks and he's sacked 3 times, and the offense is completely ineffective, absolutely.
All right,
they could bounce back to Carson.
PT, you're old enough to remember the Bobby Hoying situation. I mean,
I do.
They brought Bobby Hoying. He played 4 games. He looked like, wow, finally we found a quarterback. And Bobby Hoying was a guy that, I don't know, I mean, he wasn't a first-round pick. I think they drafted him in like the 3rd round, and he came in, he played 4 games, and he looked like, holy mackerel, they found the guy. And then he was horrible the next year to where his stats, the year that he started, I don't think he threw a touch. I think he had like 11 interceptions and no touchdown passes, something ridiculous. So, I mean, it's quite feasible that would be the scenario you had to go back to Wentz, but man, oh man, if that's the scenario, this place is going to be a dumpster fire for the next 15 months because that's how long Wentz is going to be tied to this team before you can do anything to him. According to Andrew Brand anyway, it's 15 months until you can get out from under that contract in any feasible manner.
Yeah, and listen, the minute that they moved up and they made all those moves before the draft to move up and get Wentz, that was Pederson and Wentz were basically like, tied together by a rope. Their futures, the success or the failures of each of them would be tied together. And to me, that's the biggest reason I think that Doug Pederson made the decision that he did. Yes, Hurts, he throws out the line that Hurts gives us the best chance to win, and he's earned the right to come in and we can see what he can do. But also the flip side of that, too, is, listen, this is my one chance to show people that I'm still a good football coach. I'm still calling plays that can work. I just don't have somebody in there running the plays the way they need to be run. So, if that's Doug giving himself a chance to basically say, I can still coach, guys. Let's see if this works.
By the way, Hoying threw 0 touchdowns and 9 interceptions.
That's hard to do.
Hoying was pretty bad.
That's impressive.
Listen, he's not the worst. I'm thinking of you, Pat Ryan. He's not the worst Eagles signal caller we've ever had, but I still laugh when I do see Hoying jerseys. Every so often you see somebody walking by. A Hoying jersey or a Mula jersey are probably 2 of the jerseys that just make me instantly chuckle.
I respect those individuals for rocking those jerseys to this day. Going back to the question, though, Gil, that you brought up, I feel he will start again. I don't know if it'll be this year, though, because I feel next year, regardless of what happens, it's going to be an open quarterback battle.
All right, let me ask you both this question. What if Hurts plays Sunday and is horrible? Do you see Wentz play against Arizona?
Yes. Yes, I do.
Yeah.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah, if Hurts plays awful on Sunday, there's even the possibility that you take Hurts. You take Hurts out of the game and put Wentz in during the Saints massacre. Because then you could justify your decision to start him against Arizona, because then it's Wentz who plays the role of, listen, we were completely out of the football game. Wentz came in and did good things. He was all of a sudden, you flip it right around.
I feel like Pederson left the door open to go back to Wentz.
As he should. Like, Pederson's also look. I know we discussed the fact that maybe he's comfortable not being in Philadelphia anymore because of meddling owners or GMs that don't give him the tools in the toolbox that he wants to have. But at the same time, too, Doug Pederson's got a lot of pride. You know, he wants to be able to go out there and win football games. The one thing you can't do, there's only so much that you can ride on. Well, I won the Super Bowl. I was the coach of the winning Super Bowl team. There's only so much of that you can ride. You're basically judged on what have you done for me lately in the NFL? And so Doug Pederson wants to go out and win some football games and show that he can coach.
Tuesday with Thompson, the PT. By the way, the Flyers have signed Phil Myers to a new contract.
It's a good deal.
It's a 3-year contract extension.
Great deal.
Is he going to get benched for Hunter Brody?
Yeah, that'd be nice.
I heard Brooks was a pretty good defensive back in the day.
Oh, right? You know that. I had my role.
PT, did you know on this day, 33 years ago, Ron Hextall scored a goal?
I mean, unbelievable, right? First of all, it makes me feel old because 1987 was a special Flyer season. Obviously, went all the way to took Edmonton all the way to the distance, and what a great J.J. Daniels goal at the Spectrum, the loudest they say they ever heard. But yeah, that was against Boston, and then later on that year in the playoffs, I believe it was against the Capitals, he did it again. So up until that point, no goalie had, like Billy Smith had been credited with a goal, but the puck had touched him last. I think Bob Froese might have had touched a puck and they gave him like an assist on a goal or something like that. But for the goalie to actually, and Hexy used to get those Vic. The Vic was the sticks, VIC. And he used to practice that stuff. And so in practice, and then they thought if the situation was right and they were up by 2 goals, they weren't going to get an icing or anything like that, he'd take a chance at it. And did it against the Bruins. History was made. God bless Hexy. Love the guy as a player. Maybe not so much as a GM.
Well, he did do a great job at drafting as a GM, but there are some other things that definitely didn't go so well.
Yeah, smaller dinner plates, don't have chicken wings. We're going to have the alumni game, and you can't dress in our locker room. That story right there, where Bobby Clark called Hexy and said, "You open that effing door." that one will live in my brain forever.
All right, Pete Thompson, who is the most unlikable? Have you thought about who is more unlikable than Roseman? Anybody?
Yeah, I'm going with John Middleton.
You're going Middleton. You're sticking with that.
Absolutely. Middleton pissed me off this weekend. I mean, listen, I'm all in Eagle mode. I'm in NFL mode. I'm thinking I don't have to tweet about anything with baseball related or anything like that. And then I see this stuff coming out that the Phillies are considering trading Zach Wheeler, and I lost it. I was like, what? I was so pissed off. And then they, optic, it's just awful. I mean, then I wouldn't, there's no truth to this. Yeah. National baseball reporters are hearing it where there's
multiple.
Fire.
Yeah. It started with Buster Olney, and then Jeff Passan confirmed with
as
similar
did Ken Rosenthal.
Yep. So it's real. He heard the backlash, and he went real quick on his word, saying, "I didn't say that." Yes, you did.
All right,
we trust you just as much as we trust that hair on top of your head.
Pete Thompson, like all guests, appeared via the Boardwalk Honda hotline. Thanks, Peter.
All right, guys. Talk to you on Friday.